All right, let's dive into a classic Agatha Christie mystery. This is a fantastic one. It's about a brutal murder, sure, but what makes it special is how it pits two brilliant detectives and their totally opposite methods against each other. And trust me, this crime is way more complicated than it looks at first glance. It all kicks off with this really desperate plea for help.
So it all starts with this letter. The great Hercule Poirot gets it from a wealthy millionaire who's absolutely convinced his life is in danger. But, it's not the formal request that grabs you. It's the postscript. This one final, hastily scrawled line that just screams desperation. It's a plea that you just can't ignore.
And here's the first twist. Poirot and his trusty sidekick, Captain Hastings, they race across the channel. But when they get there, they're met at the gate by a police officer with some pretty grim news. That plea for help, it came too late. Their client is already dead, brutally murdered, and you know what? The investigation's already in full swing.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. We'll start with the baffling crime scene, then meet our two dueling detectives. We'll get right into how they clash over the exact same clues, and finally, we'll see why psychology, not forensics, is the real key to cracking this whole thing wide open.
All right, let's jump in right where the police did, with a crime scene that was a total puzzle from the get-go.
So get this. The victim, millionaire Paul Renaud, is found lying face down next to a freshly dug but empty grave. And where is this? On a golf course right next to his property. He's been stabbed in the back. The only person who might have a clue what happened is his wife, Eloise, and she was found tied up and gagged in their bedroom.
Mrs. Renaud gives this dramatic and honestly pretty clear-cut story. She says two masked men broke in during the night, speaking some kind of Spanish. They tied her up and were demanding some sort of secret from her husband. When he wouldn't talk, they dragged him away. So right away, this story sends the police chasing after these mysterious foreign assassins.
Now, a high-profile case like this, it demands the best. So, Paris sends its star detective, the celebrated Giraud of the Sûreté.
Okay, so you gotta understand Giraud. He's like the new face of crime solving. He represents that modern scientific method. He has no time for hunches or psychology. For him, the truth is only in the tangible, physical evidence. He's methodical, meticulous, and yeah, he's a bit of a showman about it.
Giraud's whole process is all about the physical stuff. I mean, he literally gets down on his hands and knees, looking for footprints, cigarette ash, tiny fibers. For Giraud, the how of the crime is everything. The psychological why, that's just noise. It's totally secondary.
So when he meets Hercule Poirot at the crime scene, he is instantly dismissive. You can just feel the condescension. He basically sees Poirot as a relic, an old fossil whose methods are hopelessly out of date. And this right here sets the stage for a major clash of egos and ideas.
But oh boy, has Giraud seriously underestimated his rival. Because while Giraud is busy staring at the ground, another detective is focusing on something else entirely, the little gray cells of Hercule Poirot.
Poirot's approach is the complete opposite of Giraud's. He couldn't care less about footprints or cigarette ash. No, he believes that the key to any crime is understanding human nature. He puts his faith in logic, order, and the power of his famous little gray cells.
And here it is. This is Poirot's entire philosophy in one single powerful declaration. He's not interested in the physical scraps left behind by the crime. He's interested in the mind of the criminal. He is convinced that by understanding the psychology behind the act, he can deduce the facts. And of course, this is a method that Giraud finds absolutely ridiculous. So, this brings us right to the central conflict of the story. You have two brilliant detectives with two completely different methods. How in the world do they look at the very same evidence and see completely different things?
And this table just lays out their divide perfectly. Take the grave. Giraud sees a shallow grave and thinks, okay, the killers were strangers, they didn't know the land. But Poirot? He gets curious. He thinks, maybe the body was meant to be found quickly. Then there's the weapon, a dagger from the bedroom. Giraud sees a crime of opportunity. Poirot thinks it's too convenient, like a prop in a carefully rehearsed story. And here's the best one. Giraud dismisses some footprints in a flower bed as just the gardener's. But Poirot, he declares them the most important things we have seen yet. It's just a total clash.
So, Giraud goes off pursuing all his physical clues, chasing down leads on these mysterious foreigners. But Poirot, he's intrigued by all the psychological inconsistencies, so he starts digging into something else entirely, the victim's past.
And what he finds, well, it changes everything. Poirot discovers that Paul Renaud is actually a man named Georges Quenot who was wanted for a famous murder in Paris from over 20 years ago. And get this, his partner in that old crime, Madame Biraud, is now living right next door as Madame d'Aubroy, and she's blackmailing him. So to escape her, Renaud cooked up this incredibly elaborate plan to fake his own kidnapping and murder. He was even going to plant a tramp's body in that grave. But on the very night he set his plan in motion, someone actually killed him.
So think about that. This is the critical turning point. All the clues Giraud has been chasing, the masked men, the abduction, it was all a work of fiction, created by Renaud himself. They had nothing to do with the real murder.
Which brings us to the real question. If Renaud staged his own murder, who stepped in and committed a real one?
The killer was Marthe d'Aubrel, the blackmailer's daughter. See, she was in love with Renaud's son, Jack, but Renaud absolutely forbade the marriage. Martha overheard Renaud's escape plan, saw her chance, followed him out to the golf course, and stabbed him. She knew that with him gone, his son would inherit the fortune and finally be free to marry her.
So why did the modern scientific detective fail so badly? Well, Giraud was flawlessly analyzing a crime that never actually happened. He was completely blinded by physical evidence that was just part of a stage play. The real crime wasn't about that one night, it was rooted in the dark secrets of a murder from 22 years before. Poirot succeeded because he looked past the physical facts and saw the psychological patterns, the echoes of that original crime.
When you get right down to it, Giraud's scientific method was the perfect tool for solving the crime that didn't happen. It took Poirot's deep understanding of human greed, fear, and history, his focus on the why, to unravel the truth of the crime that did.
And that really leaves us with the central question of the whole story, doesn't it? In the search for truth, what's the better tool? A magnifying glass or the human mind?